All right, so next one, this is a bigger topic. I noticed this in a trend in ads, especially as photo and video is getting so much more advanced. Do you feel like AI ads are perceived as spam or disingenuous versus something that was actually filmed and curated? And are you relying on AI content to scale brands at this size?
Yeah, I think it depends on the target demo. So like older demos, like they don't think twice because they can't tell the difference. And so AI generated ads do really good for that demo. The younger Gen
Okay.
Z millennials, like they'll see right through it. So it doesn't tend to perform as well. This touches on something that I think about a lot. It's this concept of, it's alluding to kind of the dead internet theory, but this concept of like, okay, well, kind of two things. One, I think, we look at some of the models now, like ChatGPT, 5 versus 4 is a lot dumber than 4 in my opinion. Like it doesn't output as well. And one theory that I heard was like, well, 5 was actually trained off of, the data that 4 generated in a sense, right? So like you had a couple years of people putting all this AI slop out into the marketplace. So then the 5 goes to learn scrape the internet and learn from it. Well, it's half of its training data was developed by AI. So it's just this like, um, this degrading sort of system of quality. So that makes me think about like the dead internet theory of like, okay, at what point will it's like the whole internet is based on people being incentivized to contribute to it, right? So you had like old school blogs where you could, I say old school now, but you write an article and they would, you sell ads on that blog, you get paid from the ads. So you'd be incentivized to keep writing articles. When that incentive goes away because people are just going to their LLM and say, hey, asking for the product that they want or getting the exact delivery on the information that they're looking for, and it's not an article that was written by somebody. Like, how do you incentivize people to continue to contribute to the internet? So, I think yes, 100% it's spam, and I think the more we go forward, the more we're gonna start to see it for what it is because the quality of it is actually going to diminish because it requires that human input to get a really well generated AI output. And whether it's input on like in the actual like front end or just input into its learning model for it to have really, really exceptional output. So I think for sure, even the older demos are going to start to perceive it as spam. There can be a lot of cool, funny things that definitely are scroll stopping. Like Sora, you know, has some amazing like videos that I've seen that are really funny that people put out there. But like for me to have trust in a brand to give them my credit card, like I don't know. I think it takes a little more than just AI generated content and AI generated slop. I think Meta's, you know, pushing really heavy right now on like not just creative volume, but creative diversity and being just outright saying like, hey, ads that have the same image in different headlines, Meta is going to categorize that as what it's called an entity ID, meaning it's going to see that those two statics or 20 statics as the same exact entity and not do anything different with them. And it's starting to mitigate this because I think what's happening is just like it's been, infused with a ton of AI spam. Now Meta's got to figure out how to hold all this content, organize it, and rank and deliver all these variants on ads that it's like actually if it's too similar, we're not going to even call it a variant. We're going to call it the same ad. Um,
That's really, really interesting and probably a good safeguard for them to have
yeah,
because that's the only way that you're going to limit spam. That's the only way you're going to avoid the dead internet entirely is by being able to delineate between AI and real human generated content.
yeah. And if you're telling all your advertisers, which they did in the past, like go generate a ton of content, give us 50 statics, test different headlines, see what works, which is kind of what made Meta Meta. It's like now they have the ability to do that at scale with AI and like 10x their output of that. How do you handle all that influx of like content if you're Meta without just completely like there's not enough compute to process and deliver and rank and you know put that much you know that many ads into the system in my opinion. So I think that's why they're developing things like Flex Format, which we like. We've been using that a lot. It's really, really good, and being more clear with advertisers on how they're actually viewing the creative.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what tools come out to mitigate that. I know you can't predict the future, but I think if anybody can comment on this, it's probably someone in your position. Do you have any kind of prediction on what the ad landscape looks like, let's say 10 years from now, when AI has been so saturated and most of what you see online is AI? How do advertisers think about it at that scale? Do you just jump in head first and then say, okay, all of our creative is going to be produced by AI? Or do you still put some effort into, do you put elbow grease into making it yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Meta's been very explicit that they want to be able to deliver a unique ad for every unique impression for a potential customer, and doing that through their generative AI. So I do think it'll get to a point where it's like Meta knows this person maybe likes dog, but they like Australian shepherds, and they feed them this kind of dog food. So it's gonna like basically generate new ads for that brand using the things that it knows that user likes, but they're never going to see the same ad twice. It'll be different every single time.
Meta is going to generate the ad.
It'll be just generative, yeah. So, but at the same, it's not going to put creators out of business. It's just going to evolve. I think, the creator economy is going to continue to expand, because what's going to happen is, like, if everyone's going to their LLM to decide what they want, they're going to be influenced somewhere along the journey. And so it'll be about like brand awareness and creating influence. And how do you influence at scale without, being able to directly measure it, because they're purchasing on a separate platform? It's like, well, we just have to really go all in on like creator marketing,
Yeah.
brand awareness, and
Yeah.
making sure you're the most memorable, so when they do go to the LLM and ask, like, what food should I buy? Like, your brand is more sticky than the others because they saw an ad that was memorable.
Yeah. Somehow it always comes back to the basics of how do you build a strong reputation? Really? Like how do
Yeah.
you become an authority? How do you become someone that people turn to? And that part is probably never going to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that foundation of being a good marketer, extremely important.
Mhm. Well, these are really interesting. Thank you. I definitely want to dive more into the AI generated spam later. I know we can go really, really down the rabbit hole on that one. But for now, this has been super useful on the service. Thanks for asking those 4 questions. And for anybody watching, if you have questions you'd like Andrew to comment on, just comment on our YouTube video or on Instagram or TikTok.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.